So if you could, should be doing that. We are heading to a place where people are going to have to put their safety aside. I see that coming. We're heading to a place where good and decent people are going to have to question what is being done in their name, in their country, by a group of people elected to office to serve them, who have now usurped that authority. We are heading to a dangerous, dangerous place. Every now and then, I have to stop to think that the role I play in the politics means that at some point, I'm going to have to decide if Trinidad is worth putting my life at risk. I'm literally laying my life on the line. I do that a lot now, and I know I have children, one a young baby girl, and I have to think about her as I think I am the kind of person who will walk into the lion's den. I have no problem with that. It's not me I care about. Today I went to Dr. Godfrey Arajo, my doctor who saved my arm, for him to see my foot, my left foot. And after the walk from Arima, when I had my foot was damaged before the walk, and I was walking from Arima, and by the time I reached Mount Hope, I was in some pain, and by the time I reached Morva Junction, I was fighting to hide serious pain. I knew from about El Socorro that I should have stopped. But we have so many shit-hung politicians, so many play activists, so many talkers, that if I had stopped at El Socorro with my damaged foot, I would have not been able to make a proper excuse. So I had to push on. So I pushed on. I had police officers calling me, following the live, and they called me on the phone just before El Socorro to say, hey, it's getting dark, don't walk through Laventille. And that was enough reason at El Socorro, Sour, I could have stopped. I could have stopped and say it was too dark. I had responsibility for some of the ladies from the Candlelight Movement who was walking with me, and that I could have stopped there. But all I kept thinking about was the mission. You see, my mission is not the average politician's mission. My mission is to show Trinidadians that not every politician is Rowley, a shithong and a shit snake and a lion deceiving jackass. Not every politician is a... Well, you know how vexed I am tonight, huh? Not every politician is Patrick Manning, a thief, a shameful, disgusting little horner man who put two women up in Hyatt Suites when he was stepping out on his wife. And everybody knew it was a running joke. Him and his priestess building their little love nest in the bush with taxpayers' money. I want to show Trinidadians, not everybody is Basti or Pandy. Talk a set of shit for 50 years about the parasitic oligarchy and then get into government and go on and play golf for the same parasitic oligarchy and put the same parasitic oligarchy in government. Not everybody is a waste of freaking time. That somebody actually cares more about the country than their own well-being. And nobody knew that I had a damaged foot. Nobody with me knew I had a damaged foot. My doctor knew I shouldn't have been walking. But I was walking. And I was about 5 hours in, 6 hours in. I was in some good pain. By the time I got to Morvan Junction, it had become dusk. I was walking since 12 o'clock. And every step was agony. Every single step. I'm telling you this because today I found out, because I have been in constant pain since. Today I found out I have to have surgery and that I'll be incapacitated for 3 months because they have to break bones in my foot to fix it. And I learned that today, and the walk tore my tendon, and I was, by approaching CGA, and every step was like being stabbed through my foot, and every step. And when we just crossed the Dry River Bridge and entered Port of Spain, and the police officers stopped us. Said, we heard that there was a march and a motorcade coming into town. I said, brother, if you're here to stop us, send me home. I'm ready to go home. And he laughed. And there were people there. I mean, people were taking care of me, Dion Andrews, Jennifer Mohammed. They were literally massaging my foot, trying to keep me mobile. Every step. By the time I reached the Red House, my foot was a club. I was hobbled. The next 2 days I couldn't walk. And multiples of people came and gave me treatment and all sorts of things. And since that walk and now, I've been trying all manner of different things. And multiples of massages and all kind of sports rubs every night. And so today I bit the bullet and went to the doctor. I said, look, this ain't going away. And after extensive examination, he said, we're going to build you something now so that you could continue to walk, because the man to do the surgery is in England. So he should be in here as soon as there is a opening for him to come in here. And I just drove away from that meeting today thinking, I am going to have to put myself at risk again for my country. And I see that coming. And I see that I have to make peace with the drug lords that control this government. I have to make peace with the corrupt criminal businessmen and the criminal lawyers and the criminal politicians. I have to make peace with the gangs that have been rewarded by government and murderers, hitmen that have been financed by government contracts. And I have to make peace that every step now, because after I did that video showing the Chinese construction ongoing on the Diego Martin bypass, that is just theft. They just literally, I had to tell Maxi Coffee today. Maxi Coffee is lecturing me and I told him, you son of a bitch, make peace with God. Make peace with God. You don't talk to me. And Maxi is telling me about about how God deals with everybody. I said, brother, that's not how you make peace with God. God don't deal with liars. God don't like ugly. The $3 million that Keith Rowley stole from the treasury to pay your medical bills that you weren't entitled to, that was theft. That was you and Keith Rowley, after swearing on holy books in God's name to do right by all manner of people, conspired and connived to do wrong. And I had to know, talking to these people, that little shit snake Dwayne Colm Imbert, that man crawls my blood when I see him. I celebrated Malcolm Jones's death. I celebrated Franklin Cahn's death. I thought that if God really was a Trini, those two would have dropped dead a long time before and saved this country money. And I'll take 100 Franklin Cahn's and 1,000 Malcolm Jones instead of one Colm Imbert. I think that man is Satan's sperm sack walking around live. That's what I believe. I believe that the handful of predominantly Syrian businessmen that saying they're gone legit now after all the cocaine money that they run through this country, there's a handful of them. It's not all Syrians. It's not all Syrians. Because my father is a Syrian, and my father have good sisters and a couple good brothers who are Syrians, and I have Syrian family, and I know a lot of good Syrian people, but there's a handful of Syrians in this country who have used the cocaine trade from the 80s, and they have high-ranking police officers who are aware. And all you have to do is go back and watch who is now the head of SWORD, Alexander, in the Vice video, and listen to some of the things he talk about, and listen to. And I know these dirty sons of bitches, they're not going to let go now. This is a double down. That entire contract mafia that includes corrupt politicians, predominantly PNM politicians, but they are in the heart of the UNC. A lot of them are part of the same contract mafia, uncle and nephew, brother and brother, husband and wife in two different parties, and as long as one in, everybody eating. And I had to, this is the message to me. Trinidad didn't get here by accident. People not hungry by accident. People not going for 5 and 6 hampers. And if your family ate for 3 weeks and you see hampers, you grabbing hampers, you going back and you trying whatever, because Donna Cox shopping in Harad Place fresh, and I have pictures of her shopping among the $1 million shopping club. So she forget if she ever knew what hunger was. And there are people who, and I'm telling you, if it was me and my family hungry, and I got a chance, I ain't taking 1 hamper, I taking 3, I taking 4. You could call me greedy, it's called self-preservation. Man must survive. That son of a bitch had no right to say anything like that. And somebody sent me a thing today, don't accept food from anybody who will brag about feeding you after. And that's why Guyana gave Keith Rowley a middle finger and say, piss off with your dirty hands and your unclean heart. We don't want nothing from you. And I had to think to myself, and this is the quandary for me, because it'll be hard, I know. I mean, I've put out so many videos. I've put out so much information. I've given for free all the knowledge that I have. So the knowledge to fix Trinidad and Tobago, the majority of it is out there and is well seeded among a lot of present and former members, and it's being dispersed, so it's widely known. So it's not like I'm taking my knowledge to the grave with me should something happen to me. But I have to think, I don't want an untimely death to be in vain. That's my concern. You see, Dana Sitahal's death was in vain. Selwyn Richardson's death was in vain. Jean Miles's death was in vain. I am not one of those coward activists talking a mile of shit for you on Facebook. I walk in there with you, brother. I come in. I don't know that. And they're one of them, I'm afraid. No, they have state authority. They have state authority, and they could use state authority against me. They're using state authority against me now. Colm Imbert, as the Minister of Finance is suing me for defamation because Devon Maraj, who was a former Minister of Transport, put into the public space that Colm Imbert has air-conditioned a room for a $2 million car, and Devon shared the picture of the car, and for about 2 weeks, people were just sending that to me, and the day I asked, Colm wait a whole year to come and sue me. He ain't sue Devon. He ain't sue none of the other people. And this PNM is using everything. This PNM front of the cocaine and the corruption cartel, this PNM front is using everything in their power to silence me. Media journalists tell me all the time, brother, if we only call your name, we risk getting fired. They afraid you like cat afraid holy water. They afraid you, brother. They want to call your name. They don't want people to know you or to hear your voice. They do everything. I mean, during the elections, every time we call TV6 and CNC, 13,000 for a half hour, 20,000 for a half hour, $32,000 for a half hour. Every time we call them, it went up. You could get between 7 and 8. You could only get between 8 and 9. They only have between 9 and 10. Boy, PNM and UNC, they only have between 3 and 5 in the evening. Corruption and cocaine dollars. Trinidad is a narcotics pipeline to the world. $600 million were found on somebody's property on Monas Island. And we never found out who owned that $600 million worth of cocaine. They linked it to a guy who was kidnapped and beheaded, and the body was left on land that a Syrian minister gave himself. These are the things that Trinidad has to deal with in the public space. These are the things that we have to put up with, knowing. And my question to myself is, I don't afraid none of them. And I'll walk in to everything, because I am more man than they will ever be. I am more man than Rowley will ever be. All of these little bitches who hiding behind Commoner and these nuisance lawsuits, all of these little shit snakes, all of them are little men, tiny penises, wives that, anyway, that's for another story, for somebody else to tell. But I need to know that is for something. I'll die in front of the Red House tomorrow if I knew my children would grow and live in a Trinidad that works. My blood would seep into that ground tomorrow if I knew that it was for something. Dana Sita Hall dead in Woodbrook, and the parties didn't get interrupted. Trinidad has corrupted everything about it. If you do criminal inquiries into every office of state in Trinidad and Tobago, our justice system has been corrupted. I have a friend who's a magistrate, went to jail for years. I know a lawyer who is now a big shot in the UNC, went to jail for years. Trinidad. So everything they're telling you now, and everything that is being said to you as government, I question everything. None of it making sense. None of it adding up. I did the math. Our shutdowns over the past 17 months, including this 2 months of lockdown here, my brother waiting to get in on the video, and I'm pulling him in shortly. This 2 months of lockdown that just went on here cost us billions of dollars in the private sector. As Lima McLeod Wilkinson said today, the government and the public servants and the ministers, they're not in this with us. Their lives, Donna Cox still shopping in Robert Haddad Big Shot Fresh Grocery, a special little grocery up in the top of Maraval, just for big shots. That's where Donna Cox shops with the royalty. She feeding her family royalty food. They don't know what COVID-19 feels like. They're not suffering from the lockdowns like you are. Restaurants catering their lives. No. They don't know. You know. The business community in this country, when I see Kevin Kenny, former CEO of Angostura, have to ask, how does a private sector construction worker spread COVID more than a worker on a government contract, on a government project? You know the bullshit about it. Private sector construction projects are hardly more than 5 or 6 workers on the site. The government projects are crawling with people, predominantly in and out Chinese people who travel in from ground zero of Alpha, Beta, Delta, Gamma, because they could call it the Indian variant, the Syrian variant, the up your ass hiding in your colon variant. All of it is a Chinese bioweapon detonated on planet Earth. The China that has corrupted this PNM government and the UNC as well. Because the UNC did nothing to stop it. The UNC was just as in bed, cozying up with them, kissing and hugging, and doing billion-dollar projects that you and your children and your grandchildren had to pay for. And that China now is doing government contracts in Trinidad, lending us money to build shit that we don't need, and using Chinese labor to build it. So it's a double rape, because you have to pay for something you don't want. And the only reason to borrow money for infrastructural development is if it could put our people to work. It's not doing that. It's putting Chinese workers from China to work in a country with massive unemployment. The last estimate is 112,000 people unemployed. Those are insane numbers in a country this small. And then I walk in people's shop and people talking to me in Venezuelan, security guard giving me directions in Nigerian, and the Chinese doing all the construction. So what is for the people of Trinidad and Tobago who paying all the salaries, who paying all those bills? It's not Colm, it's not Rowley, it's not their children. Tax-free lives. They live tax-free lives. You pay taxes to pay their salaries that they pay no taxes on. So people keep saying that nobody has been willing to die for Trinidad and Tobago, and that we've not fought anything. We didn't fight the Queen. We didn't fight anything for our independence, so we don't value it. And that's why these shit snakes, canal conks, river rats, latrine maggots are being able to conspire and connive and rob your children of their inheritance. I want you to understand, right now, our debt to GDP is 80%. That means 80 cents on every dollar going towards debt. That's what we're paying. We're financing debt right now. And we're trying to accelerate out of that skid. The only problem is they've stolen Petrotrin. And they've stolen the oil, because I don't know where the money that's going to Heritage going. It might be our oil, but it might be oil like it's AV oil. It might be empty pipelines, $1 billion for him. Your children have to pay that too. Not Rowley children. Not Colm children. Yours. You paying them and these bills. At some point, we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, have to decide if this is how we want our country to run. You see all the African Indian bullshit all you're doing on Facebook? Until you all grow beyond that, there will never be a solution that fixes Trinidad and Tobago. So anytime like Janelle here cussing Rowley, cuss Kamala too, cuss Pandits, boy, again, Philip, keep it calm. But until you all stop that, because it is you all tonight, and that's what I have to decide. Because if you die for a country where the people are still going to be talking race bullshit, then that's in vain. This is not a country to die for. Trinidad is a country to walk away from. If the people don't understand that being Indian first never helped them. Being African first never helped them. Bolan Amar, Ram Kirpalani didn't need to be Indian first. They were businessmen at the height of Eric Williams' recalcitrant minority, Motilal Moonan. Them fellas, Kirpalani, Amar, Moonan, them fellas didn't have to be Indian to prosper. They just needed to be committed to prospering. When Bolan Amar died, when he died, he left a legacy bigger than any white-owned business in this country's history. Now, they knew that Bolan was gone, so they went at his children who had no clue what it took to build that. So they lost that. But what Bolan Amar built and left, no other company in this country's history had two blue chips. Two. Bolan Amar had successfully negotiated himself Pepsi and Toyota, a little, what they would have called then, coolie man from the bush. Joseph Charles changed his Indian name to Joseph Charles to be able to launch solo. You see, they didn't have to be Indian first. I'm saying this for my African brothers to hear too, you know. Because my African brothers need to hear that fellas like Moonan and Kirpalani and Joseph Charles and Amar, Bolan Amar, them fellas didn't wait for nobody to come and powder their backsides for them, you know. They got up and got. And for those men whose names I just called, that was at a time when Eric Williams was conspiring to keep East Indian businessmen from prospering in this country. And they prosper still. Trinidad and Tobago needs its people to become citizens of this country first. Now, every piece of information you get from my brother tonight, worthless to you, pearls before swine, if you're not sensible enough to know what to do with it. Now, I want to say this before I bring him into the conversation. 128,500 people physically signed a petition. We've tried 2 online petitions after, because people beg me, Phil, bring the petition online now. Bring the petition online. And I know there is something lazy about an online petition. Share, don't share, like, don't like, sign, don't sign. Bullshit. But you see, our physical petition is tactile, something you can touch. It's an effort. That effort. 128,500 of y'all, that's more than 10% of the adult population of this country, made themselves available to say, enough. We have more to do on that. My brother Paul Alexander, good evening.
Yeah, Philip, you can hear me?
Very clearly.
Yeah, so I thanks for having me on the show, and I'm not following up on the politics side. I just want to get to the public health side, the disease side. So
jump right in.
You
no, you jump right in. You go right ahead.
Well, look, I just want to have a few words to say because of the situation now in the Caribbean and in Trinidad and Tobago. And I know what's happening because I see stuff happening across the world with all of these reports of variants and stuff. And the reality about it is these lockdowns completely unnecessary and really is an overreach by government, because the Delta variant is probably the most treatable variant so far, very, very low risk. In fact, the symptoms is almost like a common cold when you may not even know you got infected with Delta variant, and almost zero mortality. And that's the key issue here, because when we look at all the data out of the UK, etc., the infections are going up, but the infections is not what is important to us. What is important is that the hospitalizations or the ICUs or mortality, and those things are flat. So, of course, the infections will go up because A, you're testing more, and B, the pandemic is over. It's done. And the virus is just putting out its last whimper. And these variants it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's mutating in a very, very mild, highly infectious way because it wants to infect you, but it does not want to kill you. So it's a good thing. In fact, the reality about it is that the government is so overreacting. It is actually more beneficial if the government was to open up the society completely, strongly protect the high-risk people like the elderly, but let the rest of the society go on largely unfettered, and let people, children, young people who at no risk of severe illness or death, let them go on living their lives. Let them actually even get infected with the Delta, because they will be driving natural immunity, which is far better than any kind of immunity by the vaccine. And you'll get closer to population immunity. Look, Trinidad faces what Australia and New Zealand face today. They're in a very, very difficult position. They locked down too hard and for too long. And they locked down hoping that when a vaccine come around, they could vaccinate themselves out of this. And you cannot do that. Because now, what you realize is the vaccine have a problem. The vaccine is not completely sterilizing as we thought. So it does not confer the type of immunity that we thought. And plus, we have reports now emerging in the United States and Europe of potential harmful effects of the vaccine. So we in a catch-22. So Trinidad right now, the problem is we did not allow enough natural immunity to accumulate. So the population is very vulnerable. So right now you have to keep them locked down. And if you don't lock them down, you are hoping if you vaccinate fast that you could get out of this. But you're going to now throw a vaccine at people that is not safety tested, and you could potentially harm the public. We are saying put a pause on the vaccine, definitely for little children. Absolutely no person under 30, no one under 30 should be in receipt of any of these vaccines until all of the investigations have come to fruition. And only high-risk people. If you make the benefit risk assessment and you are like over 70 and you have some kind of underlying medical conditions and you are ethically consented, so you explain the benefits versus the harms of the vaccine, and you are comfortable with what your medical practitioner tell you, then by all means, especially if you have underlying risk conditions. But if somebody is young, under 70, healthy person all their life, they have no medical conditions, I would not take this vaccine because they have too many questions right now. And I think it's a very, very serious situation. I think the government panicking the public with this Delta crap all over the world. It's not a serious situation. The Delta variant becoming dominant because it is highly infectious. And the reality about it is, who cares if it's infectious? In fact, if it's infectious, it's a good thing because you're getting low possibility of illness. You're getting infected, you don't even know you're infected, and you're going on with your life. Locking this society down was the gravest mistake other countries in the world ever made. It destroyed economies, and Trinidad has done a good job in destroying economies and harming people. Many people in America...
Well, Trinidad, you see, you want to evade the politics, but you can't evade the politics because you were alive and living here when cocaine barons were the only people who had money after the 1980s recession to buy up all the properties and all of the businesses and make themselves empires. That's the play, and I said that since January 2020. That's the play that come in. A fake recession, and the fake recession that they organize is nothing next to COVID-19. COVID-19 allowed them to drive people out of business. They have a lot of people who made their money in very nefarious ways that own the large insurance companies, major shareholders in the insurance companies and the banks right now. Trinidad in a dangerous place. We have a criminal...
Yes.
criminal class making decisions for us.
Yes, but I know, and I have limited time talking to you, so I want to focus back. What you're saying is true.
All right, so let me give you some numbers, right? Trinidad have 20... No, not numbers. We're talking this, right? Trinidad have a population of 1.4 million Trinbagonians. The other couple 100,000 people, Venezuelans and Chinese. You're not counting them. The 1.4 million Trinbagonians, 20,000 a year do SEA. So we're going to work with 20,000 as our number per age group. 20,000 at 11, 20,000 at 12, 20,000 at 13. That tells me of the 1.4 million people, 800,000 above 30, 600,000 between 30 to 60, and that leaves 200,000 people above the age of 60. Now, if you were going to do a vaccination program for something that you say is going to attack and kill the elderly if it kills anybody, wouldn't you have targeted that age group with your vaccines?
Yes, I just said that it should be a much more... Look, COVID demonstrated very early that it's amenable to risk stratification. So that means that your baseline risks and the risks that you bring into the situation was prognostic on your mortality. So we could pretty much know where you would fall in the COVID train. And this was based, so you could target treatment based on somebody's age and their risk. So you're very right in the sense that from the word go, in February 2020 or December 2019, we knew, January 2020, that COVID's focus was elderly people over 80. Still, the median age globally of death is 82, with at least 2 to 3 grave underlying medical conditions. That was the way it was in February 2020, and it's the same way it is today, in June, the end of June, July 2021. But the reality is this. The real criminality in this, Philip, and I need to focus you and focus this conversation, is this. The Delta variant now, which is going to predominate, you have to understand, the Wuhan virus, the Wuhan strain that started in February 2020 is long gone. And the vaccine that you're getting now...
You keep making this mistake that Trinidadians need more of your medical information to make a decision. I want to tell you something. Everybody has access to TV. I want to tell you, everybody has access. We know Israel said today, they're not locking down. They have a Delta virus. They have a Delta variant spike, and they're not locking down because they want to get a herd immunity. We know that 39-year-old son of the ex-chief justice in Ireland took a vaccination and dropped dead in his house. A week later, 39 years old, a doctor. So we have the information. Paul, focusing them with the information is not really the issue, you know. What Trinidadians have to decide now is, how do you deal with a government that you know have used misinformation and lies to rob you of your freedom and destroy your country's economy so that their friends and financiers could steal it? You keep saying move away from the politics, and I'm telling you, COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago is all politics.
Yes. So, Philip, like the rest of the world, so let me get back to the point. The point is, we could treat our way out of this. We do not have to vaccinate our way out of this. The vaccine right now have a lot of problems and questions that a lot of countries trying to work out. And my argument is there should be no vaccine for anyone. We didn't need this to begin with. If you are going to use the vaccine, you then should only focus it on very elderly people or any high-risk person, only if you're properly informed of the benefits.
Hafiz Ali just said, you have to hear what the people who are watching you are saying. Hafiz Ali says, where I am, he's in Colombia, also has not locked down with the new strain, but we have run out of beds. The new strain is deadly. Answer Hafiz about that.
Yes, Philip, can I speak again?
Yes, answer Hafiz about that.
What is the question, Philip?
Hafiz Ali, who is in Colombia, said that where he is not locking down, but they've run out of beds, that the new strain is deadly. Is that true or not true?
No. If they're not locking down, that's very good. The new strain, the Delta strain, is highly infectious, but there are no indications of any lethality and death. So whatever that individual is saying is highly misinformed, his government probably misinformed him or he's a troll. They have no basis, they have no data for it, and that's that. And I'm an expert in this, and take it as that, number one. Number two, back to the treatment. Please, and don't interrupt me again. I would ask you. This is very important for
But we've had that conversation already about the treatment. We've had that conversation already about the treatment, and I asked you to publish it, Paul. Paul.
I just want to discuss the treatment.
Why can't you send us that published so we could share it?
I have done that to you many times. I have done that already. I'm going to make a statement. The government should not lock the society down. There is no need for that. They are suffering Trinidadians, and there are a lot of people dying in Trinidad due to this government of Trinidad and Tobago's actions. The Ministry of Health, your Chief Medical Officer of Health, they are very incompetent and inept. They are making catastrophic decisions that are costing lives. There are treatments available. There are bona fide treatments that the government needs to make available to the population, needs to unshackle the hands of the doctors, allow doctors to prescribe, not punish. Don't punish them. Allow them their clinical decisions and their own judgments. They know what they're doing. The doctors in Trinidad are very capable, very smart, but their hands are tied. So the government, that's where I want to talk corruption about the government. The government is very corrupt in this case. I've listened to the Prime Minister, I've listened to your Medical Officer of Health, and they have no idea the absurdity of what they're talking about. And they are costing lives. We are watching it from the West. It's actually a joke what is happening in Trinidad right now. And I am abhorred by it and absolutely livid. There's treatment. The government needs to make very cheap treatment available. It is safe, highly effective. You prevent hospitalization and death by about 95% once given as soon as the person becomes symptomatic. Do not let them go to the hospital and you could save lives. You don't need to vaccinate yourself out of this, and you do not need to keep this nation locked down. The more you lock down, you are delaying the move towards population level immunity. There is no evidence anywhere in the world, zero, that the Delta variant is lethal. Zero. Do not listen to what the WHO, the PAHO office in Trinidad says, your Ministry of Health in Trinidad. They are absurd, illogical, and nonsensical. They don't read the science. They don't even understand what they're reading. And I am ashamed. Trinidad actually behaves like a very backward nation right now. Fire your Minister of Health and your Chief Medical Officer of Health and your entire Ministry of Health. Start letting the people be treated. Let your doctors do their work. They're very capable doctors in Trinidad. Unshackle them. That's what I call for today.
Excellent. And that is well said. Thanks a lot for that. And that's exactly where we need to go. And for those of you who don't understand, that's what I was pushing him to say. Because we could talk around in circles all day and all night. That's where we need to be. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, need to face the truth. Now, my brother Paul is an international COVID-19 expert. That information he just gave you in a country where you have nobody you could pick up the phone and call. You can't call the media. The same contract mafia own the media. You can't call them and say run a story. The government screening who comes into press conferences in this banana stand, in this dictatorship. And we come back on Facebook and we talk shit and we make memes. 1.4 million of us talk shit and make memes. You now have more information to share with one another on Facebook and do nothing with. If your mother get COVID and she can't breathe and you're telling them what Dr. Paul say, they're pushing her aside and putting her in the ambulance and taking her up Mount Hope to live or die. So I could bring all of the experts here for you and tell you all of it every single day. We did that between 2017 and 2020. How does that fix a country like Trinidad and Tobago where the truth doesn't set us free? How does it do that? Today is Monday. Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. 2 days into the week. 2 days into the week where the Prime Minister watched the citizens of the Republic and told them, you can't go out to work. watch the contractors, independent Trinbagonian contractors, and say, you can't earn a living. But Chinese companies in Trinidad and Tobago, they could. And you can't explain it. There's nothing you could do about it, but we could talk some more. Let's talk. We want to talk about tonight now. What can I say tonight that will light some fire in your belly for a minute tonight? And then tomorrow, all of we standing up, fingers in we navel, looking down the ground, two big toes touching one another. Boy, it hard, things hard. If somebody could only come along and save we. Trinidad and Tobago is what it is because we let it become so. Each successive government that we have had has been worse than the last. This is the only country that does not improve. Everything gets worse. Water delivery gets worse. Education gets worse. Public health gets worse. Our economy, our jobs, all of our state enterprises, all of them. How could everything be bust? How could National Insurance Board owe $25 billion in payments, in dividends? Where's the money that was paid in? 500,000 people was paying you for 30 years. Where's that money? Colm? Who stole that money? Colm? Where is it? Where? But now we have to sell assets, the friends and financiers of the PNM, to the contract mafia for pennies on the dollar, to say we want to pay Tanti because Tanti have to pay she light bill. You see the shit? And they go run out. And then taxpayers are to bail you out. But friends and financiers of the government who are going to meet up in Miami and London and share the spoils, they get to take our national assets. So our port that is only losing money because they needed to lose money so they could sell it for shit money so that others could come and make it work. It's just so funny that others could make these things work and we can't. Again, I need to remind you that as all Metal did when he bought ISPAT was to fire the management. He kept the workers. He fired the entire management. And in quick time, not only did he turn Trinidad and Tobago's steel mill around that Eric Williams stole hundreds of millions of dollars to build and share with his corrupt PNM financier, friends and family, cult club lodge brothers. Not only did he steal hundreds of millions of dollars, Mittal, not only did he turn it around, he went on to become one of the richest steel magnates in the world. And his first foray into steel mill was to buy Trinidad's failing ISPAT. Telling you this tonight, waking you up to this tonight, any of this, people want fresh information. They want to go and tell one another, put ivermectin up your big toe and hydrochloroquine up your ass and you won't get COVID. They want those conversations. We fighting to be relevant and valid with second-hand information. We want it to run on Facebook and post. Give me likes, give me shares. What's it for? What's it for? Everything my brother said tonight, we say it since March 2020. What's it for? What's it for? We have the numbers. If you go and read all the numbers on worldodometer.com or on Trinidad and Tobago's Ministry of Health, and all the people who got, it was ISPAT first before the ISCOT or ISPAT. Iron and Steel Company of Trinidad and Tobago. What was the latest numbers today? What? Look for it and see. But in Trinidad and Tobago, the Urban Development Company, a special purpose company in Trinidad and Tobago that is funded by taxpayers to build taxpayers' projects under the office of the Prime Minister, spent $500 million renovating an existing Red House, money that could have built the Red House 10 times over. And instead of us getting a commission of inquiry into what happened with that money, $50 million to refurbish doors, $150 million to run electric wires, instead of having a commission of inquiry into where that money gone, I have to fight in court defamation with a state-owned company that by law cannot sue, but we have to spend money as senior counsels, get taxpayer funds to try and con that into our system. That we can't even ask questions about what is being done with these special purpose companies. But if you audit them, you would have to jail ministers. If you audited them, how do I get judges to step into these defamation lawsuits and say, wait a minute now, this is a citizen of the Republic. His only agenda here has to be concern for his country. These issues that he is raising, why are they bringing him to court and not the actual people spending the public funds? Why not those? Where do we go from here? Trinidad and Tobago. Where do we go from here? My position, extremely intelligent man, compassionate, love of country. I am getting to a place where I have to choose between leaving my country or possibly dying for it. Those are the extremes of activism, real activism in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not talking about the activists who come out to make a name so they could get a post in one of the parties. I ain't talking about bag of money fellas. I ain't talking about fellas who fight Rowley for 5 years, 10 years, run against Rowley and then end up waving flag for Rowley. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about real activists, love of country. Does it have any, now I want to say to all the people, our old granny today are trying to walk out of Scotiabank. She coming into Scotiabank. She arguing with the security guard and she trying to explain to them why, and she stopped when she see me. Now she in the doorway. She getting a chance and a blind to talk to the man. And she interrupt her blind to say, use Mr. Philip. Use Mr. Philip. Oh God, I follow you. Son, don't stop talking. Please, I beg you, don't stop talking. And I had to tell him, thank you so much for that. And this security guard that you're working with here, he gonna make sure and take care of you. And he did. And I went down today to a police station because I needed to get some information for something. And the officers only telling me, don't stop talking, Phil. Don't stop talking. But I want to know, where does the talk go? 4 more years? 4 more years of theft? 4 more years of debt? 4 more years of corruption? How do we survive that? When it's done, if you wait 4 years to inherit $1 trillion in debt, what do you do with that? What do you do then? And Kamala and the UNC walk out the parliament today. That is the big play. That is the big play. 2 vote and no confidence, and a walkout. So the opposition bag empty. Trinidad and Tobago has the highest deaths per million in the world from COVID-19. 17 months after. You heard Paul, Dr. Paul Elias Alexander. You heard him say that COVID is over. We understand it. We know how to treat it. They come to tell you, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, all of them is shit. It is petering out. So it is spinning off lighter versions. Hafiz Ali was talking shit when he came to talk about his city. And I knew that, but I wanted to provoke Paul. I needed Paul to be able to find and say that what's going on in the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago is absolute lies, it's bullshit. That's why people dying, and I needed for him to say that. I know if he's talking shit. Because Delta is a lighter I put out today. Four Delta variants in Mount Hope right now tonight, 4 Venezuelans. I want them to explain to us one of two things. Those Venezuelans came into Trinidad with it, or they got infected in Trinidad from it. And one of the two answers is going to tell us how exactly incompetent this government really is. Because if you have illegal immigrants catching COVID Delta in your country, Trinidad in a rat hole scene here. And if they're coming in with it, how many people did they infect along the way? How many? How many people? So now I have a foot that requires surgery, and I'm going to be incapacitated for 3 months. I have to learn to walk on that foot again. And I'm hearing others. I'm not saying it's just me. I'm hearing others. I'm seeing others. But why? What is wrong with this country that our voices so valueless? Why do we have a state of emergency right now for a virus that shouldn't be killing anybody? Why? Why is that our reality? Why instead of bullshit on the media, we're not getting real questions and real stories? You're not saying they're standing with Uvashi Tiwari Rupnarai. Standing where? Where you standing? Home in your kitchen? Where you standing? How are we standing with Uvashi, who put her career on the line? A girl with a master's in statistics have to be ridiculed by some shit snakes on Road Rat Wall, paid for by the NLCB. And all you who standing at Uvashi, dreaming centipede and old lady last night and running down to play a playway. How you standing for Trinidad and Tobago if the people who standing for Trinidad and Tobago and getting themselves, why is it that it is possible for all this wrongdoing at the highest level of our country to happen? Why is that possible? Why? Why is that possible? And where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? In a country where they tell you vaccinate to operate, so you're vaccinated and you still can't operate. You're putting donkey piss in your people's arms and you still can't operate. We ain't know what the long-term side effects of what Sinopharm and these people making and sending to put in people's bodies. We don't know what that's going to be. We don't know, but you're held hostage. You can't live, you can't work unless you go and get that donkey piss in you. So what are our choices as a people? What are our choices? What are they? What are they when your parliament has become a shit show? It was a circus. It was a theater. Now it's a shit show. This government realized that the speaker's chair is not the same thing as the speaker's chair in England. The speaker's chair here is a political seat. And it is used and abused by whoever calling the shots, whoever appoint the speaker. The speaker is not independent. The speaker doesn't have to have a name or anything to be concerned about. The speaker's role is to, in Trinidad and Tobago now, is to frustrate the opposition, uphold the government, and reduce the parliament to a joke. And this weak and broken opposition that only has stunts to play. Why hasn't the opposition called the country out yet? Why? Why hasn't the opposition formed a round table with all of us yet? Is it that Kamala and that crew hoping that all of us who standing against the PNM will allow her to walk into government by default again? Any, many, miny, mo. Vote PNM out, NAR in. Vote NAR out, PNM in. Vote PNM out, UNC in. Vote UNC out, PNM in. Vote PNM out, UNC in. Vote UNC out, PNM in. So you're going to vote PNM out now to vote UNC in again? With that stupid, organize a quiet march. Use a wheelchair, candlelight vigil. You see all of this, all you're talking, the majority of people going and watch it on Facebook. Hey, oh good, you see that kick that police get a man in the head, boy. You buy the popcorn, want to pop in more? That's why we're going nowhere. That's why we're not going anywhere. Because we've never stood together as one people for this country. And we've never stood up and defended our activists. And we've never stood up and fought for right over wrong. We've never done that. So, if my brother want to talk to you every night, I'll bring him back every night. So you could come on Ugood. Ugood. That's what we just do. Ugood. We good at that. We good at Ugood. We don't go nowhere with it. Ugood is for Facebook. Ugood is not 50,000 people outside the next press conference with placards asking questions. Why are we not using ivermectin? Ugood is for Facebook. I don't want to be in front now. See them police butter. My head they make for that. And that's Trinidad. Britain, 500,000 people walk on Saturday. Oh, good. So, and I had to tell my brother, the same thing we talking every time I bring you on the show. And it's just for Ugood. Some new who didn't hear it last time come to say Ugood. We're saying it since 2020. Ugood. It's true. But then Hafiz will come on the thing without any critical information. 30,000 people have it in Gambia. All them sneezing and sniffling. You're testing positive for ingrown toenail. Oh, good. You're testing positive for bad stomach. Oh, good. Oh, we for? Oh, good. So they're catching we with oh, good. Bringing Steffi Graf, Witty Graf. We up to 8,100. Oh, good. Jackass with the mascara. We running out of beds. We had 1,551. We down to 542. Nobody asked where the rest gone. These 542, they fall. Oh, good. Then King Jackass come. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. Oh, good. More coming. We make for oh, good. And I want to, that's not what this show is for. I tell my brother, start to do your own show. I'm not here for the oh, good. All I want is the truth and a way forward. And that's the only conversation we need to have. Everybody who's scrambling, have a partner, he's a contractor. He have big jobs now. He and his wife selling vegetables in bags, delivering it to your house, trying to survive and feed their children. And every single citizen in the country trying to hold the corner, trying to see how they could survive. Everybody leaning and leaning back. And saying, oh God, give me a help out, give me a hand. People messaging me. Oh God, Mr. Philip, A man right better there, I said, are you a member of the Citizens Union? No, but I mean to join. I said, message me back when you join. That song hard. But he know to find me when the wolf reaches door. He know how to find me when we collecting money to pay legal fees. For all this shit that is be suing for. To go and talk on Facebook like they win something. Oh, good. Trinidad and Tobago. Give it one more try, Philip. I still here. I still here. And I am hoping to see people care enough about the country to stand together. Black, Indian, Trinidad, Chinese, Syrian, white, brown, green, come together. Say, all right, police will get tired beating we, but it's 1 million away. At some point, we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, have to be able to stand up and be counted as citizens. And the day we stand up, all of them who standing up now and talking big will sit down. And not one time ever will I ever advocate breaking the law. At no time ever will I ever advocate violence. At no time ever, because then if you get into government that way, you'll come out of government that way. Read Macbeth. So I understand. See this on my knuckles? Dr. Liz Parry recommends steroids because the sanitizer drying out my skin. That happening to y'all? I tell the fella who holding the temperature gun in Superfarm, he said, brother, same thing with me. I tell him which thing to buy. So if you find my knuckle shiny, that's what it is. Every night, steroid cream to safeguard my beautiful skin. If Ogud is enough, let me Ogud. Let me keep Ogud in. Let me keep Ogud in. Somebody just write, I win. I win a fart. Trinidad is still a shithole. The drug lords still running cocaine. We still can't secure these borders. Wink, wink. It's impossible to secure any country's borders. Wink, wink. Tell that to China. You're doing business with China. Cross China border now. Go China and cross into Russia. At the height of COVID-19, this man, Putin, released tigers and lions on his borders. Tigers and lions. Believe it or not, at the start of the COVID, to lock his country down. Go there. It's impossible to secure a border. And Church Young, wink, wink, wink. You can't secure no country, wink, wink, wink. Go New York City, that's short. You and your daughter, stepdaughter, ex-stepdaughter, going there with some of them drugs now. New York City. Pull up on Manhattan Island without announcing that you're coming here. See how much hole they put in you. You can't secure this island. Because this island serves a purpose for those who make very big money and can't explain it yet. Throwing up large buildings, buying up huge properties. Audit real estate in Trinidad. Go to area. Ask the big agents in area who all your big shot clients is buying 200 and 300 house from all you. As they come on the market, you're calling them, this one nice, you know, you want to pre-buy this. Order that now. Philip, you win. All I have ever done fighting for this country is lose. Lose friends, lose family, lose time, lose money, lose happiness. Somebody say use some CeraVe on your knuckles. This is some kind of hydrozone or something. It was bad, it had get real bad, and I didn't know what it was. And I was buying normal cream and it was just getting worse. But this, it fixed it quick. It back to good. I think it's the last night. Corn like rain, ain't? who good. Will you hear what the man say tonight? Who good? And yes, we all should be angry. Angry enough to stop being racist, cult members, Kool-Aid drinking political party sycophants. By now we should be angry enough to say, you know what? 58 years of bullshit. "58 years of bullshit." 30th of April, they locked down the economy. Chinese workers rubbing up on each other on construction sites will not spread COVID. You driving through the drive-thru in McDonald's to buy your burger and your milkshake will. You going to the drive-thru by KFC for your snack box and your Coke and your Pepsi will spread COVID. Chinese workers all over one another on the job site, they're not spreading it. It's a ass. Oh good, we're saying there, boy Phil. It's not for me to stay strong. It's not for me. I am strong. What you have to ask yourself is, like John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country could do for you. Ask what you could do for your country. In Trinidad, ask why we've never cared enough to do. Ask that question. Yeah? It is disgusting and upsetting that this is what activism is in this country. That for you to stand up for Trinidad and Tobago, the organizations of state are used against you. If that doesn't tell you the tin pot little dictatorship we are, nothing else will. And until black Trinbagonians see the PNM for what it is, ain't going nowhere. Sprang along dead, telling people, till we fix Beetham and Sealots, Trinidad can't fix. You can't fix Beetham and Sealots if Beetham and Sealots fighting to hold on to the PNM, brother. If the lifeguard reach in the water to pull you out from drowning and you fighting him, take your drown. He'll come back and drag your lifeless corpse onto the beach. Jackass. Morvan Beetham Laventille Sealots could change this country tomorrow. When Nylang Hippolyte was the member of parliament for Laventille West, I told Laventille West on the radio, I said, marginalize yourself. Vote UNC into office. It can't get worse. Beetham can't get worse than it is now. It can't. The canals that run through Beetham, so toxic that mosquito can't breathe there. Full of water all the time. And a kind of green gamma radiation sludge forever on the surface. Rainy season, dry season, it looks the same. But mosquito can't breathe there. Morvan Beetham, Laventille and Sealots, East Port of Spain could change this country like that. Don't vote UNC, pick somebody else. Send somebody up. Find somebody in the community. Gail Castaneda. Gail Castaneda stood up with the Progressive Empowerment Party. If she run independent, vote for her. Put her in the parliament. take away, you see when you take away their power, you hobble them. Every seat they lose, they are less able to do this kind of shit. It's not about how much voice you're going to have. It's how much voice you take away from who is in power to do shit. And at some point, we might get to a place where the government have 12, and the opposition have 6, and the independents together have more. Imagine that parliament. But we out here, oh good. They down by the corner, they gain way iPad in the jersey. Run, run, run. Get your PNM jersey and your iPad. Oh good. And when it come full circle, and they come to tell your wife, or they rub him down by the bar, Papa struggle, boy. And they chop that man up and kill him, yes? Oh, good, you lie. Yeah, your Charon was riding bicycle, and they get caught in a crossfire. Oh, good, don't say that. Oh, good, go kill we in this country. Yeah? Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. CitizensUnionTT.com, CitizensUnionTT.org. Join us. There is strength in numbers. 486-CUT, 471-CUT, CUTT 2888. Join us. There is strength in numbers. To the people who are reaching out when they are at their wits' end and they tell me, Sammy, get your number from Jerlyn, and Jerlyn give it to me. That's what your MP is for. We have started the work of sending out letters to the world, begging for food. It don't make sense, right pocket, left pocket in Trinidad, trying to get rice from Jim to give to Mary. So we go into the world, we go into the Red Cross, we go into the United Nations, we go into every state in the United States, we go into the European Union, we go into the United Kingdom, we go into every country in Europe, we go into every country in the Middle East, we go into every country, we go right into Australia, we write into all the Caribbean islands, we especially going to write Guyana. We're going to write Guyana and beg for some food for our starving and hungry people. I want to make sure that it resonates with the world, that there are people in my country that are jobless because the government has locked down the economy, refusing to let them work because it's threat of police bullets and lockup. So he refused to let them work and has done nothing to cover them during the time while they're being refused to work. So it is literally being held hostage and hungry. So I and the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago are going to beg the world, South America, Brazil. I can't beg Venezuela. Maduro could take everything he have and push it up his ass. They have 2 countries not going to hear from me. 3, Syria, Iran. 4, China, Venezuela. All of them could push each other up their own ass. I don't want nothing to do with those countries. But everybody else, we writing them and begging them. Trinbagonians, may not be Tobagonians. I don't know what's going on in Tobago. Money seems to be pelting out over there. But Trinidadians starving. Trinidadians starving. And I'm going to work with all of the existence. So it's not for me. And I don't want the photo up. And I don't want I don't even want kudos. Don't write no story in the Guardian or the Express or the Newsday when the food start to land. I just want all the existing activists and charity organizations, all of the churches, all the temples, all the mosques, get in touch with us because we're unpacking it right there. Come with your truck, take your share, go and feed your people. If you are in any way able to help us, get in touch with people who have the ability to provide us with food for this from outside. If you are located outside and could help us, I want 20-foot containers of food to share with our people. Yeah? if you're in a position to help us, my number on WhatsApp is 6822110. WhatsApp me, and if you are in a position and you could explain that to me, I might call you back and we could talk about it. Yeah? I think that's it. Until tomorrow.